It's been a while since I've done one of these. Hey everybody, John here to for Gaming, and let's chat.
Let's chat. Put your listening ears on and talk to John.
So I will be talking about The Last of Us 2 in this video. I finally finished it. It took me a while. I have some positives and some negatives, and I'll give you like my overall what went right, what went wrong with it, in my opinion. But I'm going to put that later on in the video. I'm actually going to make that the last segment because it's going to be filled with spoilers. Because I don't know how else to talk about how I feel about the game without spoiling it. So basically, when we get to The Last of Us 2 section, and if you don't want to hear anything, you can stop the video, or I put in a timestamp to when the video is over. I might actually, what I'll do is I'll put in a timestamp to my overall, like my finale. What word am I looking for? My conclusion. And I'll sum it up and without any spoilers, and I'll give a score or something. But first, I want to talk about where I've been for streaming. For once, it's not entirely my fault. I suppose where you are in life, situationally, location-wise, everything cosmically is always your fault. Every single decision you ever made is why you're where you are. So I suppose cosmically, it is my fault. But what I'm talking about is my internet's being an absolute bastard. The internet was never great here. I live down the country. If we were to get like normal, actual paid for line in, we'll say, the best we can get, like the best line internet we can get is like 2 megs. So I don't bother with that because that's hot garbage. So what I did was I found this one spot. Actually, I have several spots that I move around, which I'll get into. I can get 4G, and I used to use my phone, but then I bought this 4G adapter, or whatever you call it, a router, modem, whatever the fuck. And I'm literally sellotaping it high up. It's right here at the minute, up on Windows. So I'm currently trying to figure out, because my whole setup before this office, and I would hate to move from this office. I really would. I truly would. But my old setup, when I used to have no issues, this is a while ago now, was the complete opposite side of the house. I used to be in, if you remember, I used to have the big green background. I had the studio light beaming into my face, which won't be happening again. That room is fine, but I like the office. I like having my separate office. So if we can get it to work here, it's fine. But basically the upload has been terrible. So I might need to move it back to that spot, which is the complete other side of the house. I don't think the signal will be good enough to get here. We could test it out. I want to try and have it fixed for tomorrow so I can stream again. Speaking of streaming, I've been streaming a lot of Tarkov recently. Love the game. Love playing with Roland. Love playing with Paddy when he's on. Love playing with Jinx and Spuddy. Love playing with Nick. I only played with him once. He shot me. Still loved it. I forgive you, Nick. Oh, and if I'm forgetting anybody, Mac Daddy. But if I'm forgetting anyone else that I've played with on this wipe, I loved every minute of it. It's been emotional. It's been real. It's been Tarkov. But getting into the fact that I was playing The Last of Us 2. This is, by the way, you don't need to skip yet. This isn't the spoiler talk. Getting into the fact that I was playing The Last of Us 2. And I was enjoying playing a single player game again. Because I do sometimes play single player games. I don't record them, I don't do anything, I just play them. Because The Last of Us 2, I was like, I don't want to wait around. I know it's a long game. I don't want to play 2 or 3 hours here and then have to wait a few days to stream again, yada yada yada. But a thing that I still do, and I forgot it, I haven't done it as much as I did with The Last of Us 2, is that streaming and recording content has made me insane. What I mean is, I commentate on things out loud all the time, and then I catch myself doing it. Like something will happen, like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, you thought you could get away with that. You thought you could get away with that. Not on John's watch. Not on Johnny's watch. And then I go, who the fuck am I talking to? Because I act as if I'm recording content when I'm just playing on my own. And I know that's insane, but it's what doing this has done to me. And in a weird way, when I was doing it, I caught myself doing it, it brought me back to my older days of doing that on YouTube. When I used to stream on YouTube, I used to stream like Dark Souls, and I used to stream like single player games. Long form single player games, and you'd have different parts, and you'd be on stream number 7 of whatever game it was. And I kind of miss doing that, so I'm going to start streaming more single player games. Still going to stream some Tarkov as well. I'm also considering, don't take this verbatim, I'm considering adding another day. my streaming schedule, so maybe doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we could do something like Tarkov Tuesdays, and then the Monday, Wednesday, and the Friday, it could be like the single player game, just so it doesn't take me forever to get through a single player game. I don't know. I'm thinking about all these things, dude. But first of all, we gotta get the thing working again. The internet. Sorry, I just went past my... I don't know, it scared me. I saw in the corner of my eye just like weird changing of light going from like left to right, like something past the window. Nobody should be here. So that was kind of odd. Oh well. But I think I'm going to start doing stuff like that. So you'll see more sort of 3 or 4 videos. What is that? I keep seeing this thing passing. Like a silhouette passing the window. And it's actually starting to freak me out. Ignore it. Because I keep thinking someone's listening to me. Can you hear me? Hey, let's do a ghost test. I really don't want to do this. 1 knock for yes, 2 knocks for no. And if you knock twice, I don't know what that means. Because obviously you are listening. There was a knock there. I would have ran out of the freaking house. Anyway. And finally, I'm going to talk about The Last of Us 2. Okay, because I want to talk about this for a bit. This is probably going to be the chunk of the video. Don't know how this is going to be edited yet, so maybe it won't be, but we'll see. The Last of Us 2 is one of the most divisive games under the sun right now. Metacritic score of like something like 9.5. It's pretty much perfect. I'll give it a 9, I suppose. I didn't think it was that great. Sort of a reaction to it from the critics. And it got review bombed day 1, which we'll get into, because there's a few reasons I think that could have happened. And it was down at like, I think its lowest was like 3.2, 3.1. Don't quote me on that. And I think it's now up to about a 4.9. Now that people have finished the game, and it's the people who actually waited to give it an honest review have started surfacing. Why do I think the review bombs happened? Again, full spoilers. From this point on, read my lips. Here's the link. Here's the link to when this is over. And you can click on it and you can get my sum up at the end, okay? So, you ready? Spoilers. Now, get out of here if you don't want to hear them. I kind of got spoiled on the big spoiler that happens 2 hours into the game, an hour and a half, depends how much loot you look for. I basically put context clues together and I turned out to be correct. A YouTuber I watch a lot, he's a great YouTuber, some ordinary gamer, Mudahar. He gave his first reaction when he was about 10 hours in and what he thought were the issues with the game, and he said it was spoiler free, which it was, but I was able to put some context clues together. He said basically, hey, what's up, guys and gals? I got to the famous putter section that the leaks talked about. You know, I got through that infamous section. So context clue number 1: something big happens about an hour to 2 hours into the game. Okay. And then number 2, he said in that review as well, is like, it's basically a revenge story. It's basically Ellie is getting revenge for what's happened during the game. So it's a revenge story at heart. Ellie's getting revenge for something. I only saw the thumbnail of PewDiePie's second episode playthrough, which was called What Just Happened? And the thumbnail was a big picture of Joel's face. And I went, Joel dies 2 hours into the game, doesn't he? And lo and behold, I was correct. So I don't think that had as big as an impact on me. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big, massive fan of the first Last of Us. The whole dynamic, the whole reason why The Last of Us worked was because it was Joel and Ellie. I get that. But because I think it was vicariously spoiled through context clues for me, that when it happened, basically when I saw, because go back to the golf thing, when I saw Abby take out the putter, or I suppose it was more of a wedge, wasn't it? I can't really remember. When she took out the golf club, I was like, oh, this is the infamous golfing scene. Infamous, huh? Well, Joel's not making it out of this one. I was correct. Still a very moving scene. Still a very, like... It's... too early. It's too early in the game. It is. It's... I get what they're going for. They're going for the freaking Season 8 Game of Thrones. What a big twist. Subvert the players' expectations. Sort of thing. But I think players are allowed to be angry. Because especially with the amount of false advertising Naughty Dog were doing. Because They sold that game on the nostalgia of The Last of Us. Now again, I'm not against change. I'm not against anything like that, okay? But when you don't even get to play as Joel in those opening 2 hours for a single second, and then he gets brutally murdered, unceremoniously, you can expect fans to have a bit of an outrage about that. If you didn't expect that, and if you tell people to grow up, you're an idiot. It didn't affect me that much. But the fact, if they didn't expect people to like riot, it would be like if the new season of Rick and Morty, right? Rick died and one of his contraptions couldn't bring him back. He died at the very start. He died in the first episode. And then it was it was fucking Bob and Morty. Who's Bob? He's this new character we introduced in this first episode. And that's it. It's Bob and Morty. And they're getting revenge for what happened to Rick. And people go, yeah, we subverted your expectations. You can't just be in this bubble, dude. You're right, to some extent. You can do whatever you want with your creations. And when things get stale, which I don't think it was, that's fair enough. But you've got to expect Rick and Morty fans are going to be annoyed that you killed Rick. Anyway, I didn't really care too much about that. Surprisingly, that's not... I wouldn't even put that as an issue I have with the game. Let's do like a bad thing, good thing. I don't even think that was necessarily a bad thing, but I can understand why people would see it was a bad thing. Good thing about the game, the obvious. The game looks phenomenal. It's the best looking game I've seen run on a console. Bar none. And I'm playing it on a day one, not even PlayStation Pro. The poor old PlayStation I thought it was going to take off when every time I turned on that game. The fans, just for the whole time, were just... It's breathtaking. It's a breathtaking game. Some of the scenes... when you're on the island and all the huts are being set on fire and you get this kind of old 70s movie Vietnam thatch huts being burnt down by flamethrower sort of feel. It was really awesome. Some of the awe-inspiring scenes, the views of like the vast forest that you just see forever from a hill, or just, yeah, you see the mountains in the distance. When you're in the city, it looks amazing. The story. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. I didn't mind the story. There was parts of the story that gripped me. There was parts of the story where I was genuinely had to see what was going on. I had to keep playing. There are other parts of the story that I thought were completely unnecessary and bored the ever-loving shit out of me. In my opinion, that game is about 6 hours too long. It is the longest game. You should never, even if a game is long, it shouldn't feel long. And even though you'll see by my score at the end that I did enjoy The Last of Us 2, something goes wrong when you're on a room on your own. This is true. And it gets to a point where you start singing out loud, "This is the game that never ends. It just goes on and on, my friends. Some people started playing it not knowing what it was, and we continue playing it forever just because this is the game that never ends." That happened. The game never fucking ends. You're just like, I can't believe what's happening. People give the Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King shit for having like 4 different endings. You feel like it's ended, and then... No. I couldn't believe it. Okay, so, before we get into that, I know this review is all over the place, just like the fucking story. So halfway through the game, I forgot this was spoilers, so I can talk candidly here. When the Abby situation happens. Basically, if you don't know and you're watching this for some reason, if you don't care about spoilers, Joel gets killed by this character called Abby. We don't know much about Abby. We assume she's a Firefly. She's with a group of people. Ellie goes to Seattle to track him down and systematically starts killing down the crew one by one. But she wants Abby the most, because Abby's the one who tortured and killed Joel. So, it gets down to a confrontation where she's basically killed all of Abby's friends. You've been Ellie this entire time. Abby breaks in to the freaking theater that you're staying in. She breaks in, boom, shoots me man in the head. Can't even think of his name. Shot him in the head. It's not Jerry, is it? Or Jacob. Begins with a J. Shoots him in the head. Bang, he's dead. She's like, everything for me. You killed my friends. I'm going to kill you, Ellie. Fades to black. Then, 4 days earlier, you're Abby. And I was actually kind of like, oh, cool. We're going to get a really quick summation of Abby's side of the story. So I did a little bit of a mission. We're running around. Then I noticed, oh, I get to actually... This is going to be a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be because I'm picking up crafting materials. I suppose I'll craft myself a medikit. Then I realised I had a full undone, like completely full undone skill tree, with other skill trees still to unlock. Then I realised there were sections for guns I still had to find and build and modify. And it dawned on me, I was only about halfway through the game. Yeah. Basically the second half of the game is you play as Abby. You play the first half as Ellie, then you play the second half of the game as the person who murdered and killed Joel. It broke poor PewDiePie's heart. I watched clips of him playing it afterwards when I was finished, and he gave it a 6 out of 10, and I'm very surprising he didn't give it lower because he felt like he hated every second of that game, and he loved The Last of Us 1. But anyway, we won't get into that. But when he had to play as Abby, he was like like going through the motions like a robot. Anyway, I actually didn't mind Abby's story, and honestly, Abby had the better guns. Fight me. Incendiary shotgun is amazing. I just started when I got to the point where I could craft 3 of those. By the way, I played it on moderate, okay, and that would have changed. If anything, if I played it on harder, it might have made me hate the game a bit more. Because the first time I played The Last of Us, it was the redone edition that they did, remastered or whatever, that had the DLC, and it had the new, was it Hunted? Whatever it was called. Difficulty mode. That was that, like, every zombie were basically clickers. If a zombie hits you, like if they grabbed you, you were immediately dead. And stuff like that, and there was no inventory, and that almost ruined it for me. That just shows how good the first Last of Us was that game mode didn't ruin it for me. So I said, I just wanted, because of all the controversy and everything, I wanted to get through the story. I didn't want to get hung up on it. I could have probably played it on hard. It was a little easy. I won't lie, it was a little easy on moderate. Things would hit you and would take a little bit of health, and you're like, oh, you're not really a threat. Bonk. Even though I did die probably about a dozen times through my whole playthrough, so I did die. It happens. You get swarmed sometimes. And zombies will get you. It was a shock to the system when I realised that half the game was going to be Abby. But then when I got into her story, I actually kind of got invested in Abby's story. I know there's a lot of Abby hate out there. I know there is. But she had the better guns. She was built like a fucking brick shithouse, which, I don't know, I thought that was cool. She was like, come on! I believed her in a fight, do you know what I mean? One of my favourite parts of the game, and I bet you people are going to disagree with me, is when you're on the island as Abby. Just the whole scene when everything's on fire and the forest is on fire and the town's on fire and everything, and fighting that dude at the end of the island section, which I thought was going to be like the end of the game basically, with the hammer. He was awesome. I was like, who is this dude? He wouldn't die. Just this guy out of nowhere was like, I'm gonna fuck shit up. He was class. That was a good boss fight. I was cheering him on. And then it cuts back and Abby and basically Ellie runs away. Abby, they fight. Abby, you're fighting as Abby fighting Ellie, which is kind of weird because I was still on Ellie's side, even though I just played as Abby. And every time I died as Abby, and it was like, no, redo. I was like, no, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Ellie winning this confrontation, to be honest with you. Do we really need to replay this? Basically, Abby subdues her, gets her to the ground, is about to kill her, and is like, no, I'm better than this. I don't want to fucking see you again. Leaves. And then the game has about 10 cutscenes, and it's all like, la 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 la, and like, it just feels like the end. Like, I was, and that's the final boss fight. It just felt so final. I couldn't believe it. But after about 20 minutes, 25 minutes of cutscenes, when I was back playing as Abby, and it had more stuff to craft, my skill tree was still there, I was still finding pills, it blew my mind. I was like, there's still like, I think that was pretty much this is the game that never ends started to happen. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that the game wasn't over. Because I've been playing this game for like on and off for days now, and like there were so many times even before that I thought it was pretty much nearly over. I think the structure of it, and okay, correct me if I'm wrong. If you did Ellie, so like you do a bit as Ellie, and then it shows Ali. Then you play as Ali for a bit, and then you do because basically what happens is I didn't know if I fully explained it. After that section, when it switches to Abby, it goes 4 days previous, so you get to see everything that happened, but from the villain's perspective, for basically the rest of the game. Which is kind of cool in concept. Let's be real. It's just I don't know if they hit the landing. So if they did, you saw what Ellie did, and then you saw the chain reaction of what Abby saw, and then her reaction to it. And if they kept going Ellie, Ali, Ellie, Ali, and then it ended on that fight, and then maybe you could choose which one you wanted to be, or whatever. I don't know how they'd do that part. Or maybe you just had to be Ellie, and then it just ended the same way. That's kind of cool. Actually, very quickly, I may as well talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is fine. It's grand. You got a skill tree. It's the whole throw a bottle, what's over there, stab him in the neck. I went through a weird arc with the gameplay. Enjoying it. This is getting repetitive. Do you know what? I like it again. And honestly, what got me to like it again was Abby's arrangement of weapons. I just thought Abby had better guns. When I got the Magnum that had the sight on it, when I had the crossbow, it's a million. When you get the sight on the crossbow is god weapon compared to the freaking Ellie's bow. The shotgun with the freaking incendiary rounds. The pipe bombs. All of Ellie's weapons are fantastic. And by Ellie, I mean Ali. All of Ellie's weapons are fantastic. They're fun to use. And she had a few set pieces, because it's just like Ellie is just Seattle, whereas Ali got to go to the island and stuff, and the island was probably my favourite part of the game, just for the look of it, the feel of it. You were fully stocked out with her weapons at that stage, and there was just big fights, and you were fighting the militia, and you were fighting the scars. It was cool. Ali had enemies on both fronts. So, I think I've talked about The Last of Us 2 for long enough. Story's a bit all over the place, but there were parts that caught me. Some very weird decisions. I could see why people had a problem with. Also, very quickly, I could see why people actually could have got genuine reviews in after like playing the game for like 3 or 4 hours when the game was only out for like 4 hours. Because I could see people, because you go to the conspiracy theory of, oh, these guys just have a anti-leftist agenda. But I can honestly see, now that I think about it, I can see people being upset that Joel died that early and just turning off the game and going, this is garbage. My final review for the game is a 7. Okay? It's not, my problems with the game do not bring it down to a 6, because I did have fun playing it for the majority of the time, and the story had me gripped, we'll say 70% of the time. But it went on for about 5 hours too long, arguably 6. And there was bits where even the game mechanics got a bit tedious. And they made a few, and just the way the story is structured irked me a little bit. But I had fun at the most part. And yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I didn't want to stop playing. That's my Let's Chat. Hope this isn't a very long one, because I think it might be. We're going to have to do some serious editing on that Last of Us 2 section, because I talked quite a bit. Let me know what you thought of The Last of Us 2 down below. If you played it yourself, did you like it? Did you hate it? And put the words golf clubs. Put the word golf clubs in the comments down below, so I know that you got here. And as always, I love you, and I'll see you next time. See ya!